Hey there, welcome back to my channel. You're watching part 6 in the video series I prepared, in which I'm presenting to you the content of my theory of knowledge essay titled Deconstructing the Human Condition. Again, you can find the full text of that essay on my WordPress blog, which is erikvandepoel.wordpress.com. In this episode, I'm going to read to you a section of chapter 5 of the essay. It's about human language. Here goes. At this stage in the game, we have constructed a human who is capable of harboring emotions, experiencing sensory input, and producing reasoned output. In other words, I'm sorry. This person would be able to cry for joy at the sight of the sun rising on a crisp winter morning, feel the tears rolling down her cheeks, taste them in her mouth, and watch her breath billow out in front of her as a cloud of water vapor, and reason about this wonderfully enigmatic chain of events. The next person to come along would theoretically be equally gifted, and so these two humans could by now probably establish some form of communication by means of their eyes, facial expressions, gestures, and basic grunting sounds, possibly. But the probable degree of complexity for a given message would by necessity still be relatively low. And that is not counting highly evolved sign languages, of course. What these humans probably are in need of to progress to the next level in their development as knowers is a more refined modus of communication, also known as verbal language. And by an amazing stroke of good fortune, most humans are born with all the physical attributes already in place to produce the intricate sound patterns necessary to facilitate spoken language. The major components involved in the biomechanics of speech include our diaphragm, our lungs and windpipe, our larynx and vocal cords, our throat, our nasal cavity, our hard and soft palate, our tongue, our teeth, our cheeks and our lips, our sense of hearing, and not least, our brain. Unsurprisingly, the brain is bound to initially struggle in coordinating the level of synchronized movement between all these body parts that is a prerequisite for us humans to be able to utter even a single syllable, which would go some way in explaining why language as a way of knowing takes a fair number of years to fully develop its potential in us humans. Be that as it may, as soon as the two humans mentioned earlier have worked out the mechanical basics of their speech apparatus, they will be able to develop their language with their environmental requirements and not least their own inventiveness as their guide. After a period of experimenting through trial and error, a precursor to our present-day scientific method, possibly, our two humans finally agree on a collection of phonemes, which are groupings of basic speech sounds, to be employed as the groundwork of their language. They distinguish between vowels, consonants, and syllables, and they decide on a set of rules to ensure the continuity of the structural integrity of their language, henceforth known as grammar. They develop a vocabulary and idiom, and with it erect a tower that reaches all the way up to the heavens. And the rest is what they name it Babel. In their spare time, they work on a written version of their language, and the rest is listed in the annals of our earthbound journey through the ages. Given the circumstance that the range of possible combinations of phonemes alone, which are, again, the foundational building blocks of all human languages, this number of possible combinations borders on virtual infinity, and it seems almost miraculous that we humans are capable of intelligent verbal discourse at all in any language. And so language, to set itself apart from plainer versions of communications, is set is said to be governed by rules in that it is underpinned by at least a rudimentary form of grammar and vocabulary. Language is assumed to be deliberate and intended. In the majority of instances where language is applied, we intentionally direct our verbal utterances, with or without complementary gestures, at an audience in order to communicate a deliberate message, ideally. Another oft laurel-bedecked character trait of language as a practical tool is that it is a creative and open-ended process. Grammatical rules can and do change over time. Words and expressions fade or disappear altogether, and new ones are invented. The possibilities are limited only by the wingspan of our human imagination. And so, bashfully sidling into Zen territory, any language needs to also be shared by at least two or more individuals to be appreciated as such. Imagine that you are the one person on the planet in possession of a magical language, exquisite to the point where it would empower you to experience life after death firsthand and live to tell the tale, but there's nobody else around capable of sharing it with you in an intelligible way. What again was the sound of one hand clapping? As a way of knowing, we utilize our language to describe our numerous encounters with reality. On bumping into the planet, we humans invent words and use them as labels to identify, give meaning to, and create a sense of order in the multiplicity of scrapes, bruises, cuts, bite marks, and fractures we accumulate in the process. At the same time, when you start picking the lock of language as a concept, you discover that a very sizable portion of verbal language in general is rooted in images, symbols if you will, to represent aspects of reality. In creating verbal language, we assent to link these images to specific sounds and stylized representations in the shape of written or drawn words. We communicate by explaining how new concepts and objects are like other already existing objects and concepts and how they correspond. Letters and vocal sounds of one human language may be observed to correspond with those of other languages, which in turn enables us to master new languages. At this point, you are invited to research the common ancestry of all human languages, often depicted in the shape of a tree, and to see where your language fits into the bigger picture. To date, approximately 6,900 living human languages have been identified, whereby at the time of writing, a number of these languages are in less or more imminent danger of dying out, because their human host communities sooner or later die out. So that was a section of Chapter 5 about human language. Again, you can find the full text of my essay on my WordPress blog, which is erikvanderpoel.wordpress.com. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like, subscribe to my channel. Hopefully I will see you again soon. For now, thank you for watching. My name is Erik van der Poel. Bye-bye.